Here's a brutal truth that can transform your screenwriting career.
The beauty and horror of screenwriting is that you have too many ideas. And these ideas are so heavy sometimes that they will literally weigh you down. So editing these ideas into something cohesive, you know, when people say, you know, you got a horrible expression, but you got to kill your babies, I don't think that expression does justice to how difficult it really is. Because making a baby is super fun.
The first part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
it starts great.
Yeah, it starts great.
But it feels, after you kill them, it weirdly feels really good. So maybe that's me, I don't know.
I am screenwriter Pietro Schito, and that's a clip from the panel I had the pleasure of moderating at Lightbox Expo, where I shared the stage with my animation heroes, Peter Ramsey, Phil Lord, and Jorge Gutierrez.
And he's been my hero.
You're my hero.
And they're both my heroes.
There we go.
And you three are my heroes.
But why do we end up feeling like serial killers of our own ideas? And more importantly, what's the best way to deal with this challenging part of the process? Stick with me as we explore these questions, guiding you through the end of the video where you'll emerge with new writing superpowers.
Tell us a little bit about this. What's going on?
The grand tragedy of writing, honestly, is, and I think in artwork, you can see it, right? You can see a piece and you can see a drawing, you can see a painting, you can see something and you go, don't touch it. It's good enough, it's perfect. If you add one more blah, blah, you'll ruin it. In writing, you never have that. And the problem in writing is, and I learned this from you guys.
Oh no.
Yeah. It can always be better. And that is horrible because at some point, they take it away from you, right? If it was up to any of us, I don't think we would ever finish these things. So you make a movie when they take it away from you because there's a release date or you're running out of money or something happens. But I think all of us believe if you keep polishing, it keeps getting better. And I don't think that equates to a performance. I don't think that equates to a drawing. I don't think that equates to anything visual. It's purely in the writing. And then the worst part of it, the worst part of it is when you get ideas and it's too late. Right? Because you go, oh my God, if we would have done this in Act 2, blah, 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 and you're literally at the premiere.
Yeah.
That's why once you're done, I never watch the movie.
Really?
Oh my, because I'll just sit there and go, oh man, we should have moved. Yeah. The second act should be the third act should be the first act, and then, you know, now I'm miserable for a lifetime.
And then I also think in writing, it's the only profession where the process is so horrible, right? The actual, like, the writing of it is so painful. But the result, if you get it right, it's like, again, it's like having a baby. You forget the poopy diapers, you forget the throw up in the face, you forget all that stuff, and you only remember the super cute, beautiful moments. So I always say, like, having a baby is, for every, poop in the mouth, it's 10 glorious moments. I think that's writing.
Yeah, and it is true that the best part is at the beginning.
Yeah.
At like the blank page, and like I love the mark making of screenwriting. It's really fun, and I try to remind myself of that. Like when you have to rewrite that scene, you go like, all right, great, I get to do it again. And a lot of times, like I won't look at the existing version of the scene. I'll start over. Because I want to have that like joy of inventing something.
Man, that
instead of the
explains a lot.
torture of like,
Right.
oh, I have to cut the line that made my mom laugh, like, you know. So
Or my
sometimes,
favorite joke is...
Right, and just go like, oh, good, I get to do it again. And that that version of the screenplay or that version of the scene, like that is out there in the universe somehow. It's between me and my God, and I showed my friend, and they laughed, and like that has to be good enough. And then you're on to the next.
Is that a muscle you developed?
Yes.
Like while working?
It's a defense mechanism. I have, by the way, a painting that I bought from an artist named Thomas Lawson. It's an LA guy, I think teaches at Cal Arts. And it's like this. It looks a lot like me. It's this. And the title is called The Dreamer. And I said, no, it's not. That's the writer. And I bought it.
It's so funny though, that You know, I remember when I was first starting to write and just being like paralyzed about getting the sentences right and the moments and really like, you know, getting into this thing where every single move you could make, every keystroke is like, it's just paralyzing. And then like, you know, after years of doing that, thinking that way, just realized, wait a minute, they're just pixels on a screen. They don't actually exist. You know, you can throw all this away and do exactly what Phil just did, and the moment you have that realization, it's so freeing. I mean, it's all just imaginary, and there's no limit to the number of ideas you're gonna have. You're not gonna suddenly stop having ideas, and oh my God, I can't think of anything else. They're gonna keep coming, just like Jorge says. So,
I try to write fast. I don't know about you guys. I try to like, what's the quickest, first thought, best thought version of this, as I know we're going to put it through the paces later.
Like the vomit draft.
Yeah, and you don't want to first of all, they're all vomit drafts. But you don't want to be like, if you like handcrafted every, you know, semicolon, then it's no fun to like put it through the paces.
I think early on I would, you know, I read this quote that was like, try to make the movie on the page, right? So because of magical worlds and magical characters, I would try to describe all those things, right? So you enter this land and it's like, you know, tasting, like a baby tasting sugar for the first time. Like I had all these like crazy, like the day you lost your virginity, that's what this moment feels like.
That's what it looks like.
In a good way, right? Like, so.
I feel triggered.
And as you get older, you're like, who am I writing this for? Right? The reader doesn't care about any of this. So now it's like, enters the party. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is, I used to put way too much emphasis on what is the script. And honestly, I used to put a lot of emphasis on dialogue. And now as I got older, I think, you know, some people hate when I say this, but I think dialogue's overrated. I think especially in a universal, international world, my favorite movies are not in English, and my favorite movies are not in Spanish. And I love those stories, and I love those characters. It's not the dialogue, right? It's the movie, and it's those moments.
It's the story.
Yeah, it's the story.
If you want to learn all this from the best storytellers in the animation industry, you're in the right place. Take a moment to subscribe and explore our video library.
So sometimes you're gonna start working on something and you don't really know what it's actually about until you've gotten in there and fought with it and tried, you know, 80 different versions and done all the beating your head against the wall you're gonna do. And themes start to emerge that you weren't 100% sure about before, or a structure starts to want to be there that you didn't completely see before. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that gets over mystified about writing is the idea that you have to know all that stuff in advance. And you don't. You know, you can end up with something that has an exquisite structure, but that's just because you cut away all this clutter and it started asserting itself. It started, you know, Phil always used to say, the movie tells you what it wants to be. You know, you just have to listen to it. Getting stuff in front of other people, I think, is invaluable to get you to shed some of the preciousness, to get you looking at aspects of something that you're working on in a different way. So you go back and you rethink it. So all that to say, don't be a little precious, delicate baby with your writing. You know, show it to other people, get feedback, and let it out into the world and see what happens.
The important thing is like these, like the stories that have like survived for like hundreds of years, they've been workshopped. You know, like,
oh yeah,
right? Like the Odyssey was like workshopped. He like went around and like sang it, and it was like, oh man, maybe 12 hours is too long for like a song. Maybe it should be 10. So, you know, so like to make something in a vacuum to me is very silly.
Sometimes I believe that we get so confused by these screenwriting books, and when you hear a friend telling a story, how they met, or if you analyze that through structure, you see that's the perfect structure of movie. It's the human structure. And so it's very interesting to see how it's not about Hollywood, not even Aristotle. It's really how we are meant to experience life.
Aristotle and Shakespeare workshopped their too.
Yeah, endlessly.
Endlessly.
Writing is rewriting, and the only thing that is worse than being too precious about your darlings is to miss out on the amazing advice we share in this video. So click here to keep absorbing storytelling superpowers from Phil Lord, Jorge Gutierrez, and Peter Ramsey. I'm Pietro, this is Write for Animation, and I'll see you in the video.